Hey guys, Mechanite here, and I talked about in the Beast Quest Zombified episode, but that was actually my second time in that reality. This was my first, and it'll sort of explain some of the things that happened in that other episode. Right, so, I arrived, and I made sure to swap out my holographic hammer for one I bought at a blacksmith's, not wanting to weird out the locals too much. I decided to have an explore, even go up to the castle, which is where I saw Tom and Eleanor talking with Adura outside. After gaining their trust and a bit of talk, I realised what was happening. Years ago, Adura had captured some of the oldest beasts ever, and he had forced them to change with dark matter. Now, he has finally decided they're ready, and he has used all the dark matter brewed up in them to create an entire kingdom, almost the size of Avantia, made of pure dark matter, and guarded by 4 ancient beasts that used to be good, but now are pure evil, and there's nothing we could do to reverse it. He would attack us with all his dark matter minions, creatures made of pure dark matter, like humans, but horrified. Now, we knew we would have to go on this beast quest, but we couldn't even harm the dark matter beasts, as our weapons weren't strong enough. Duro said he could grant them the power, but it would take a toll on his life. He said if we managed to wipe out all the dark matter, then it will turn back into regular spirit and he'd been brought back. But he said if we weren't able to do it in time, he would be gone forever. Dead. We arrived at the walls and slowly tried to sneak in through the dark matter, and it worked for a bit. But then, in the middle of the town, with houses made out of pure dark matter, appeared Pakma, the ghost maw. This thing could eat anything, as we saw it eating multiple helpless creatures that had somehow made their way in, and that fueled his ghost power and just made it stronger. When they saw us, he charged at us, and we ran. We tried to go through the dark matter, but it wouldn't work, and we had to break through with our weapons. Me and Tom broke through one of the houses as Eleanor shot arrows at this thing, but it barely seemed to do anything, despite all of Aduro's effort. We got through and entered a cave, filled in the dark matter. However, this cave surrounded almost the entire kingdom, so we knew how we were going to get around through this massive cave system. Though it too was covered in dark matter, and Pakma the Ghost Maw came in, launching its 4 hands at us, covered in tendrils, trying to grab us. Managed to knock them back for a bit, but it didn't work, and then this thing, all of the spirit around his maw turned blue, and his eyes turned red, and he became furious. He charged at us in a craze, and we knew the dark matter must have taken a toll. However, we just managed to avoid it and crawl into a gap with this beast's tendrils trying to get through, but it couldn't fit. That's when Eleanor managed, and then after ages of battling, Eleanor managed to shoot an arrow straight into its eye, killing it, and it dissolved into the multicoloured ghostly spirits, which then floated up, away, and vanished. We knew that, and we even saw outside, the dark matter becoming translucent, weaker we thought. We went through the tunnels, They were hot, and we even had some of the dark matter soldiers attack us with weapons made out of weird, fiery, electric, dark energy. But then we entered the cold part of the cave, with lightning covering the entire thing. Dark lightning that actually struck Eleanor once. Tom had rushed to save her with his shield, but it didn't work, and they both crashed to the ground. I rushed over, trying to see if they were okay. Eleanor was electrocuted, and she could barely move, her entire body buzzing as she tried to get up. Tom was fine, if not a little bit sore from the fall, but that's when Sokina, the speeding spike, appeared. It leapt down from a massive wall, flying at us. We had no time to dodge, and I knew I couldn't leave Tom and Eleanor, so I smashed this thing's head. However, that didn't seem to work. It curled up into a ball covered in pink energy and then blasted itself at us. We managed to get Tom and Eleanor up in time for this thing to smash into one of the ice walls, leaving the entire cave to start falling apart. It kept flying at us, curling up into a ball and crashing down, and even sometimes swinging at us with its tail. Every time it jumped, it was seemingly enveloped in the pink energy, and it flew at us with great speeds. Tom even said this is probably one of the fastest beasts he'd ever fought. However, with how many evil beasts Tom has gone up against, I bet it all just becomes a blur. Almost like Sokina's speed, as it came crashing into us. It didn't seem to care for its own protection, as if if it died, it wouldn't even care. It was being piloted by the dark energy. It swung its tail at us and curled into one big ball, all the ice stopped by the lightning. However, that's when Tom managed to block it with his shield. Ice fell onto it, and a massive energy blast surged through the entire cave. Next up, we left the caves, horrified. However, we knew that it would almost be over. All of us were injured, all of us electrocuted and frozen. We were buzzing the entire time, moving the entire time. Yet we felt with each move our bones grinded together. However, when we emerged, we were actually outside the walls, but hundreds, if not thousands, of the dark matter soldiers were searching for something. And then they saw us and they all charged. We climbed up onto a cliff that the cave had emerged from, but it was so slippy that Tom fell off. He managed to grab onto my hammer just in time, and we got him back. The dark matter people seemingly fusing together, clawing at the ground as if they were just all one being, which maybe they were. We got up and found a small forest covered in snow and ice, but also destroyed. It was horrifying and sad. However, we kind of felt a sense that it was meant to be destroyed, that a good beast had done this to protect the place. However, now, with all the dark matter soldiers after us, and that probably meant the evil beasts on our tails, we didn't have any time for pondering. Decader, the hammering brute, appeared from the trees after some time and smacked me with its hammer straight in my armour. It began to glow, and I just shrugged it off, saying it must be some of the magic, not telling Tom and Eleanor that I was from a different universe. It came charging at us, swinging its head and its tail. It managed to hit Tom and Eleanor with both of them, sending them flying. Eleanor actually ending up inside the castle walls, still shooting at this thing with her arrows. Then its cape-like wings, I guess, it has 2 pairs if we count them as wings, covered my vision as it charged at me. It clawed and bit, and it jumped down, leaving me crashing to the ground. And then it roared at me, fear drenching me, along with the blood bursting from this thing's maw, and it was about to swing its hammer tail at me, when Tom appeared and blocked it with his shield. The beast burst out in anger, but I managed to hit its stomach with my hammer, sending it back into the trees behind it, crashing them all. However, this beast still stood, just more enraged and covered in the dark energy. Me and Tom charged at it, swinging our sword, but then we heard a cry from inside the castle walls. We knew Storm and Silver couldn't come on this quest. It was too dangerous for them, and we couldn't risk them falling to the dark energy, because we would never get them back. However, on the inside, we saw Eleanor being attacked by a sort of dark energy wolf, and we were so scared there was Silver, we didn't see this beast charging at us again. It knocked us off straight into the walls before going back into its forest, roaring maliciously like a sort of demonic laugh. We fought it off, and then more appeared around us, yet those seemed weaker, as if with every dark matter being we managed to make evaporate. Each one sort of felt damaged by it, and we discovered that the dark matter had granted them our fears. All of our fears could then be manifested in the dark matter. The fear matter, as some people call it. Yet we saw the dark matter castle in the centre, and knew Malval must already know some of our fears. So we doubted that this would be a horrifying beast quest. Yet still one of the harder ones. We fought off packs of the wolves, and even demonic horses. It looked sort of like Score. Yet not exactly. More like Storm being made reanimated with the dark energy. As soon as we got out, we were back to fighting Decader. However, this took significantly less time, and we ended up beating it. Malval was furious and sent his strongest evil beast to hunt us down. This was Zosmob, the Spreading Decay, and this one was made almost entirely over dark energy. Reminded me of some other beasts like Cajun the Beast Catcher or Karma the Faceless Beast. Well, this one felt even worse, almost like the zombified monkeys from one of the Bloons 2D6 universes. It charged at us, swinging its scythe, and we would soon figure out what that did. As we were running off from it, the scythe hit an innocent deer, and the deer became green and dripping with black and red goo, almost as if it was covered in the dark matter in liquid form. However, it didn't charge at us, just sort of looked disgusted, like the zombified beasts. However, we eventually managed to defeat this thing, me and it in a one-on-one battle, it swinging its scythe and me swinging my hammer. However, its bones seemed to shift, and eventually my hammer got stuck in its stomach. However, Tom was there to save the day, as he swung his sword down on the scythe, cracking it. This beast let out an ear-piercing shriek, but it was over. Eleanor shot it straight through the bone stomach, and it kept happening, almost as if the dark matter was throwing off her aim. But eventually, she managed to hit it in the head and knock it out. The entire city fell. All the dark matter soldiers were let out a shrieking roar in unison as they disappeared, and we saw Malval, furious, covered in the dark matter. He called himself Dark Malval, and he said this would not be the last of my dark matter kingdom. He would return with more evil beasts, each possessed by the dark matter. For he is no longer Malval. He is a hive mind of evil. Anyway, that was the sequel, the prequel, I guess, that, well, it tied things together, but also